Research and Development Cell at Jagat Guru Nanak Dev Punjab State Open University and the School of Languages today collaboratively, are conducting this particular webinar, which is in observance with the World Environment Day. And I am grateful to Professor Shobha Ramaswamy that she kindly consented for presenting her research work, the UGC major project that she has dealt with, which was completed in the year 2015. Because she was the principal investigator of this project, the findings are not only going to help the students and researchers, but are also going to enable the faculty members who are aspiring for some kind of research projects to be carried out in future. So I, as our Vice Chancellor and Registrar both, due to some exigencies are busy in a meeting, they had to connect with the Governor House today. So I would now, introduce the resource person, Professor Shobha Ramaswamy. Professor Shobha Ramaswamy is presently, working with the Department of English at Coimbatore. She has carried out a major project, UGC funded major project on ecology and natural environment as represented in English fiction for children and young adults, published between 1990 and 2010. This project was awarded to her in August 2012, and it was to the tune of 6,94,800. She successfully completed this project in the year 2015. She has received various awards and honors, including Dr. APJ Abdul Kalam Professional Excellence Award in Theology from the University of Swahili, Panama. She has acted as member of inspection commissions for various universities. She has guided research work. She has 21 books to her credit, 7 chapters in the journals, and 18 proceedings. She also has one patent to her credit. She is also additionally consultant to the textbook publishers, written, compiled, and edited the textbooks for schools and colleges. She is an amateur artist and a storyteller, and she believes in the therapeutic aspects of both art and literature. So we welcome you, ma'am, to this international webinar marking the World Environment Day 2025. And we look forward to listening from you the research that you have conducted. And I think the Department of English, Karpagam Academy of Higher Education is fortunate to have you there as your guiding force. And I now request ma'am to please present her findings and her research journey on the UGC major research project, Eco Consciousness in Contemporary Indian Children's Literature. Over to you, ma'am. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Good morning to one and all. I'm honored and grateful to be invited to give a talk in connection with the World Environmental Day at Sadhguru Nanak Dev Punjab State Open University. I am grateful to the distinguished dignitaries of the institution, especially Dr. Navleen Multani, Dean Research. I'm happy that so many eminent professors and enthusiastic researchers are here today. I consider this day as a culmination of my UGC major research project, because now it is going to reach a wider audience. And I wish to say that I never dreamt that I would be the principal and the sole investigator of a major research project. It is all due to the late founder of my former college, Dr. M. Arachami. He encouraged me to apply for this project, and he said, and I'll never forget his words. He said, "You will get it, Shobha," and his words came true. So I just sent off the application, and then forgot all about it. Till one fine day, I found that my name had been included in, had been shortlisted for the interface meeting at New Delhi. So that day, and those times we had to go in person. We didn't have this online facility. So I booked my tickets. I took along a former student and set off to the capital. It was the first time for me to travel to North India. I'd never been there before. I'd never been on a plane before. So it was all new. And on a very cold February morning, I found myself right in front of the legendary UGC building, and I looked at it with awe. And it was, I didn't expect that it was the beginning of a brave new world to me. It opened up a world of wonderful writers, illustrators, authors, editors, publishers, environmentalists, who are all eager, who had already done a lot of work in this area, in the area of bringing ecological consciousness and ecological messages to young minds, young children, and young adults. They were very happy that they were, getting academic recognition for their efforts. And when I went to the interface interview, it was when things went on smoothly. Then um, there were experts. I'll tell you later about how the procedure is. The experts, they come and they looked at. They were especially happy to see the colorful picture books that I have brought along, and they said that we expect good work will come from this, and they more or less hinted that I will be awarded the project. I was in the ninth cloud or something like that. So my then my long journey began, and at last the project, when the project reports were ready. They were in two big volumes. One volume is, I have published it as an ebook. The link will be posted to you. Otherwise, I will tell you how to find it on net. It is very easy if you Google it. And the second volume is a volume of interviews with all these lovely authors, illustrators, and so on, who are still continue to be my friends. And this the second volume is in the form of a printed book published by Kyoto. It is available on Amazon. The link also will be posted shortly. Then let me begin my presentation now, and I hope that this will encourage more academic research in this field, because my research ended in 2010. I'm not very updated, and I would like researchers to carry on the good work. I'll now share a few slides to give an overview of the project, and then I will tell you the steps that I went through with regard to the UGC major research project. 1 second, please. I have shortened the title here, because actually the actual title is more, it's lengthier. So I begin with what is children's literature. I begin with the The definition by Peter Hunt, one of the leading experts, who states that children's literature is a term used to describe a set of texts and an academic discipline. It need not actually feature children. And it may feature adults like Akbar Birbal stories, and some books which feature children are not meant for children, like Lord of the Flies and so on. And several books like Gulliver's Travels and Oliver Twist, which we consider children's literature now, are originally meant for adults. They were adapted for children later. In fact, till the Victorian age, there was no author who wrote especially for children. Same here. And this is some children's books are read by adults also. They are termed crossover fiction. By Kimberly Reynolds has coined this term. And Kimberly Reynolds is one of the leading professors in the world. Who was retired from university in UK, and she's a very good person. If you are interested in children's literature, you're welcome to contact her, madam. So this just go through all this. It children's literature covers many genres. I have taken for my project only only fiction, and then ecological literacy. Ecological literacy refers to a conscious awareness and understanding of the relationships among people, other organisms, and the environment in which they live. Of course, we all know all this. It's about the environment and the awareness of the environment. This is especially important for children. Why? Because children who are not exposed to the natural environment and concerns at an early age will never succeed in acquiring respect for nature, ecological concerns that society deems appropriate. So it is at the young age, at the formative age, the children become so conscious of many good things in life. Children's literature in India. So at beginning we have children's literature. It was mainly like Panchatantra, Jataka tales, Hitopadesha, retelling of Puranas and so on. A few writers, early writers like Rabindranath Tagore, Satyajit Ray, Subramania Bharati, Vaikom Mahmood Bashir wrote stories and poems for children. These were also translated into English. Rabindranath Tagore, of course, wrote in English and translated his own works into English. But this was the beginning of children's literature. When did actual concerns, the contemporary concerns in society became, when came into the messages came into children's literature? It was when these publishing houses such as Pradam, Tulika, Katha, Karadi
Ma'am,
Tales.
just a moment.
Yes,
Could I
ma'am.
please request you to move the slides? The slides are not moving for the audience. Thank you, ma'am. Now it's
Oh.
moving. Yes, yes, yes. It's moving now. It's moving.
Oh. I think I should not present it as full screen.
Whichever
Is it
way you're
okay?
comfortable. Yeah, it's okay,
No,
ma'am. We can. It's visible. If you can put it on slideshow, it would be slightly better. Yeah.
no, it was it was on slideshow, ma'am, but then it was not moving. So
Never mind, ma'am. We
now
can
is it?
carry on. We can carry on like
No,
this. We
is it
can.
moving now,
Yeah, slides are
ma'am? Is
moving
it
now.
moving? Oh.
Yeah.
And when all these publishing houses came into being, the private publishers, and digital publishing became easier, all these publishing houses started encouraging authors to write about contemporary issues, not just retelling of old stories. And so many prominent writers came into being, like Neelima Sinha, Sudha Murthy, Deepak Dalal, Sandhya Rao, Ranjit Lal, Paro Anand, and so on. You can read the names here. There are some authors like Anita Desai and others who have written for children also. I will tell you about some of these authors whom I have interviewed either in person or by email, and who still remain my friends. And of course, there is Ruskin Bond. He's a number one writer of children's literature today. He lives in London near Missouri, And I did not get the opportunity of meeting him in person, but I'm happy to say that one of my research scholars, Dr. Jayashree, when she was doing her research on Ruskin Bond's short stories, she went all the way to Landoor, and she met Ruskin Bond on his birthday, and the day before also twice she met him. And yeah, next we have Zai Whittaker. Zai Whittaker is a well-known environmentalist. She's in fact the niece of Dr. Salim Ali, the birdman of India, and she lives at the Crocodile Farm. She's the director of the Crocodile Farm in Madras, in Chennai. They have branches in the Andamans and other places also. And she's very much enthusiastic about nature, and she wants to bring in the messages through her fiction. And see that all the authors are actually, they all agree that fiction is a better medium of telling messages to children. So, children, of course, in school, they have environmental education as a subject, but they're not very much interested about it. But when they read it through stories, in the form of stories, the messages go in automatically, and they become very much aware of what is going on. And Zai Whittaker, she's a wife of a famous person, Dr. Romulus Whittaker, the snake man of India. And they have done a lot of work with the Irula tribals who are traditional snake catchers. And this is a picture book which tells about Kali. Kali is an actual person who's now grown up with a family of his own, who also works on the crocodile farm and the snake farm also there. And when he was a young boy, he was the first person of his tribe to go to school, to a regular school. And in that school, they all looked at him in a strange manner. He did not have any friends there. He looked different. He dressed differently, and he ate differently. Because when the children during break, they would open their snack boxes and take out biscuits and chocolates and so on and eat. But what did Kali do? He took out his snack box and ate some crunchy things. And these crunchy things were fried termites. They were actually, termites are very good food, and they're full of protein and all. And it is a traditional food for the snake catchers or the Irulas. But other children were disgusted. And one day, what happened was there was a snake. It went on the roof of on the thatched roof of the schoolroom, and it fell down into the classroom. And there was chaos. Everybody screamed and rushed about. And Kali was very puzzled. He said, "What is this?" In his home, when his tribe, when they see a snake, they run after the snake to catch it, sometimes for food. And why are these people running away from the snake? And then he caught the snake. And then because of that, he became a hero. And he was accepted by society, by his classmates. And next, another book, he has written several books, but another of Zai Whittaker's books is Andaman's Boy. In this, she gives a very nice analysis for the tribes
Ma'am, could I
in
please
Andaman.
request you to move the slides? The slides are not moving for the audience.
Oh, okay, ma'am.
Which slide?
I shall again begin with this slide.
Yeah, it's the prominent writers that we see now. Ruskin Bond, yes.
Ruskin Bond.
Yes.
I think I should. I think I will. I mean, this is not what the other one. The slideshow is not working, ma'am. So
Ma'am,
I
please
can just
don't use the slideshow. You can use the other cursor.
This is
yeah,
not.
change the slide.
This is not the slideshow view, ma'am. It's the ordinary
Yeah.
view.
Yeah.
I think. Speaking about Zai Whittaker, I met her when she was in Kodaikanal, and this is my former HOD. We went there as a group, and we met her there. And she said, I think practically everything I have written is against the tapestry of natural history and environment and conservation. Because naturally, because her family is full of environmentalists, she takes great delight in writing about environment. This is Kali and the Rat Snake. This is the book. Hopefully now it is visible on the screen. And I have already spoken something about this book, about Kali, the Irula boy. Then we go to the Andaman's boy, another book by Zai Whittaker. Here he speaks about, she speaks about the Jarawa tribe and the environment, how the environment is spoiled by the people from the mainland. The people from the mainland, they wanted, some of them were greedy, they wanted the land of the Jaravas and some other resources. So they went there with plastic buckets, with all sorts of clothes, which were not like with the Jarava. Some of them were rejected, some of them accepted, and many diseases from the mainland spread to the Andamans. And there was a group called the Andamanis who were practically wiped out because of the diseases from the mainland. And that's why the tribals in the Andamans don't like, I have all heard about the Sentinelese tribe and all. They don't like people from outside coming in because they bring in diseases. And this boy, who he's actually a very rich boy, but he gives up all his riches. He's an orphan and he's ill treated by his uncle and aunt. So he runs away to Andamans, and there he lives a very happy and peaceful life in the lap of nature. And this is another author I met. This is Madam Neelima Sinha. She's the president of the Association of Writers and Illustrators for Children, the Indian branch of EB. She's one of the best-known writers of children's mystery and adventure stories. She has authored the 4 books in the Save the Earth series. And when I met her, we had a wonderful discussion. And she said fiction ingrains ecological values better. And we have the Indian traditions such as worshipping the tulsi plant, certain trees and animals, which are all reflected in Indian folk tales. Neelima Sinha is from Jharkhand. It's not actually from Jharkhand. She lives, practically lives between, she shifts between Gurgaon and Jharkhand. And it is a setting of many of her stories. And she spoke about the man-animal conflict prevailing there. She spoke about the animals, especially the elephants, which used to invade the city of Hazaribagh. And I told her that elephants are very common in Coimbatore too. They visit the cities and the city streets, and even the Bade University, which is in Coimbatore, is sometimes visited by elephants, even a leopard and peacocks and so on. So we too live very close to nature. Madam Neelima Sinha is the wife of the former cabinet minister Yashwant Sinha ji. I had just taken one of her books, which is The Mystery of the Falling Mountains. And this is not actually about Jharkhand. This is about Himachal Pradesh and how logging, resort building, and illegal mining, they bring down the mountains, the rocks roll from the mountains. And she says the solution to all this is to prevent, of course, illegal logging and mining. And when people go on holidays, they should not expect to go to resorts. They should be very aware of what they're doing. They can instead go trekking, camping, have some adventure sports, not expect spas and huge buildings. So each person, each author has given her own contribution. For example, this is about stopping environmental destruction in the mountains. We have in these authors have written about different environments such as the seascapes, the waters, freshwaterscapes, deserts, forests, and the urban environment, and the mountains, and so on, whatever they are familiar with. And they have described the ecosystems prevailing there. And they speak of the biodiversity of these places. and how the biodiversity of a particular ecosystem is a sort of stable environment. Each plant or animal or insect or whatever it is, they all adjust together. They live as a family in the ecosystem. And if a new animal or a plant is introduced, there is a lot of confusion. And that also these things are these messages are conveyed through the books to children. And another author is Dr. Ira Saxena, and she has written an interesting book, The Curse of Grass. It is about the Chipko movement, not a Chipko movement of the 1970s, but legendary Chipko movement in Rajasthan long back in the days of the kings. And the tree hugging women, the eco-feminists who saved trees or gave up their lives in the effort to save trees. So it is about saving the environment and so on. Then we have Deepak Dalal. Deepak Dalal is one of the foremost writers of Indian young adult fiction today, and he wanted to write. Many of the writers, they were upset that Indian children read only foreign books and foreign settings. So they started writing adventure stories. They started writing about the Indian environment. And one of the foremost is Deepak Dalal. He has written a series of books which is called Vikramaditya series of adventures. These books are now available on Amazon. Originally, he himself published it. Now they're published by Puffin India. And Vikram and Aditya are two young adults, and they have adventures in various environments such as Ladakh, the high altitude desert of Ladakh, then Ranthambore forest, and other places. It's written about the Shahadri mountains, and he has described in a very authentic manner about the animals, plants, and so on, and about the smuggling which goes on. In Ranthambore Adventure, for example, he speaks about the killing of tigers, the pathetic killing of tigers, not for the tiger skins as in the olden days, but for the bones of the tigers. These bones are extracted and exported, and that is smuggled to China, where it is believed that they're used as in traditional medicine. And his books are really worth reading and analyzing. Here's Ranjit Lal. He has a great sense of humor, and he has written a number of books, like The Birds of Crow Chronicles is very funny. And one of my favorites, it's a Small Tigers of Shergar, in which nature plays a therapeutic role. There are two orphan children. They are traumatized in a car accident, and one of the children, a small boy, is unable to speak. He has lost his ability to speak. But then it is his contact with the tigers, the friendly tigers in this sanctuary, which cure him. And the sister also is benefited. Both of these children become normal through contact with these heavenly beings. This is Leela Gorbum. She's a foreigner settled in India. She's written some books. I have taken Flute in the Forest. The second book is about the Nilgiri biosphere. And she has a farm in Pune where children can come and stay and experience nature firsthand. Flute in the Forest is a beautiful story about an elephant and an old man who plays the flute, and it speaks of the man-animal conflict, how elephants should be approached, how we should be very quiet and not make a noise, not make noise when you see an elephant, and how elephants can become very attached to human beings, even wild elephants. Here, the elephant Rangappa is the hero of the story. In another story, I remember, not by Leela Gorbroom, but in a picture book, we see that a girl who's not very well behaved, she goes on a safari, a zoo in a sanctuary, and how she does not know how to behave properly, and she learns gradually how to, when you go on a safari, what you should do. For example, you should not wear very brightly colored clothes. You should not speak loudly. You should not use strong perfumes and other things. All these little small things are uh, taught to children through these books. Now we come to two diasporic writers, Sumita Nan Joshi has a Aditi series. This Aditi and the Thames Dragon actually is about the pollution of the Thames River and how the two children help in solving this problem. We also have an Indian picture book which speaks about a young girl. She goes to school, she walks to school every day from a village, and she passes by a stream. Then she crosses a bridge and she looks at the stream one day. It is running in different colors and she's very puzzled about it. And she learns that it is because the stream is polluted by a factory, a cloth dyeing unit nearby. And she raises awareness about this, and the problem is gradually solved. And then these books shows how children can actively contribute to the environment although they are young. Then Indian-born author, there's another author called Vandana Singh. Was there is Vandana Sinha who speaks about the environment, but Vandana Singh and a young Uncle C also speaks about the environment. Two books are there. And we come to the picture books, which are really lovely. These picture books have been published mainly by 2-3 publishing houses. One is Pratham Publishers in Bangalore. They do very good work. Many of the resources are free. They are available freely online. You can access them. And the other one is, this is by Tulika in Chennai. Tulika books, the illustrations are very good. They are innovative. Many of them use Indian art forms, such as Madhubani and Varli and so on. And this is another publishing house called Tara Publishing House, which is actually a rival of Tulika's. Tara's books are very beautiful. They are like works of art. They are quite expensive, but they are worthwhile because each of them is based on Indian art. They use recycled paper. Sometimes they have seeds embedded in them, and they are very innovative in every way. Picture books are among the most delightful of books, and picture books messages go to children easily because of the pictures, and because even children who are very young can read these books or have them read out to them. And this is about Pratham books. They have a series of stories. They have many things about environment, but this is I am taking up Ritu Chakra series because Chakra is the seasons, the cycle of the seasons, and how human beings can adapt to the changing seasons, such as the rainy season, summer season, and winter season, and so on. The traditions behind these seasons. And we have, this is by Sandhya Rao, and this book has been published by Tulika. It is about the tsunami and how children after tsunami they adapt, and how fisher folk, the children of the fisher folk know about the sea. For example, when this fisher boy tells his friend that you should jump when the wave comes. So they know about nature. They adapt to it. We have various ecosystems. As I told you, we have the various ecosystems described there. How when something from outside comes, how it upsets them and all. But these books are very beautifully illustrated. They are illustrated by Maya Ramaswamy, and they're very detailed, and they have won awards also. They describe the ecosystem of the grasslands, the rainforest, and so on. And about wildlife, this is, of course, about the black panther, very elusive creature which is found in the Nilgiris also. And this has been beautifully illustrated by a Chennai based artist called Ashok Rajagopalan, who has done a lot of work for Zai Whitaker and other people. Black Panther is about how to approach wildlife without being harmed. Here we have the man animal conflict. It's a very common phenomenon. We all come across monkeys when we go out somewhere. But here the monkeys come to the village and they come to this girl's school, and she goes home and complains to her mother that too many monkeys are there in the school. The whole village will be destroyed by the monkeys. Then the mother explains, you see, can't blame the monkeys because you're taken away the homes. How will you feel if your home is taken away? Then that's why they come to our house because they have no house of their own. Then this is avoiding exploitation of wildlife. This is about the dolphins. It's about the Ganga dolphins. This is written by one of my friends, um, Benita Sen. Benita Sen has published a series of books about the green civilizations. That is about how the ancients were aware of nature, how they lived with nature, how they did not disturb nature. And this is about Indus Valley. And she has written about Egypt and other ancient civilizations, Mesopotamia, other ancient civilizations, even let's see, others. Then here we have how peaceful coexistence, how traditional societies there were no man-animal conflicts in the olden days because man did not occupy the land of the wild animals. For example, nowadays what happens is for in Andaman's boy, we came across this message when a new creature like a goat it's gifted to the Andamans. The Andamans people, they let it loose in the forest. And here also grazing, in the Nilgiris and all, grazing disrupts wildlife because in wildlife they have adapted to the environment. Deer and all, they don't graze in a single place. They move. They know that they keep on moving. So the grass is evenly grazed. It's not at all taken away in a certain place, but the goats do not do it. They are domestic creatures. They just finish off all the grass in a particular place and nothing grows there. And they destroy the environment like that. So here, there is a group like Malhadris who live in the Gir forest in Gujarat. The Gir lion is there, but the lions do not harm the Malhadris. These Malhadris have cattle, and the main occupation dairy farming. They take all the milk and curds and butter and all from the village to the town. And on the way, they have to go through the Sagar forest. They are not attacked by the lions at all. So the lions do not harm them. We do not harm the lions. And because we respect the space. That is, if you give animals space, it will be, no conflict will arise. Here also we have one night in the Sundarbans. It is sort of dream story, and in it a tiger speaks, and the tiger says that before man came, all the animals lived in harmony, since they took only what they needed. So man, because of his greed, destroys the environment, but animals take only what they need. What they require for one day only or 2 days only, they will hunt and eat. They do not waste also. A tiger has an important task for deer. Just go back. Tell them about the forest and its laws. Tell them we need to respect each other's space and lives. Just so if given space, animals do not harm others. So here is a very sad story about dancing bear. You know, it is a tradition that in circus also we used to have it before it was banned. And dancing bears are a feature of the streets of many cities. And children enjoy these dancing bears antics and all. They do not realize the sufferings that these bears go through. This is all explained in this book. And to give children a sense of responsibility. So uh, I ma'am, shall I go on, or is
Yes,
there
ma'am.
time?
Yes, ma'am, you can, yes, continue, please. Yes.
Now, this is all about, I have given only a few messages that were in these books to just to introduce you to the beautiful colored books which I love, which I think most people love. And then I go on to the series stuff, the UGC Major Research Group project. This is actually a photograph I took in the Nilgiris when I went there for research. So, what are UGC major research projects? Who is the target group? A permanent regular, it may be a regular faculty who's working in an aided or a government or an unaided institution. He or she can take up a major research project, but she can take up only one project at a time. Now, after the project is over, a gap of 1 year is necessary before the next project. If you're a retired teacher, you have a project, you will be given an honorarium. It depends on, now I think they get a lot of money, which is what is a must for applying for UGC project. The institution, the college or the university should be, here the college should be recognized under 12B and 2F. It may be 12A. So you have to inquire from your institution whether these forms are available. These forms should be sent to the UGC to ascertain the eligibility of the institution. The minimum equipment and infrastructure. This is related to the minimum equipment and infrastructure facilities for pursuing research work. Then it is open to both college and university teachers, but you must have a PhD. And this project is for 3 years for science and 2 years for humanities and languages. Fortunately, I was given 3 years because there was some delay on the part of the UGC in actually starting the project, and so we were lucky. But I finished in 2.5 years. The amount of the grant is now, I believe it is 12 to 15 lakhs. Before it, previously, it was 10 lakhs or something. Then you can have a project assistant, like a project assistant or an associate or a project fellow, and each to help you with the project. And each category has certain eligibility criteria. Uh, then the project is now we have online application. I think we have to send 3 hard copies also. Formerly, we had everything as hard copy. Format is available on the UGC website. Then how to find the research project? We have to keep on looking at the notices in the UGC website. Notification will come as when the project is open. Then shortlisted candidates will be called for an year. First, you have to apply and look at the notices, get the date, get the application form, apply online, and whatever is required, hard copies also we should send. And then we can have to look at the notices, keep on looking at the notices. Sooner or later, a list of shortlisted candidates will be posted there, and they'll be called for interview or called for an online interview. Everything systematic. This project is very systematic, substantial, and also prestigious. The nature of the grant. The grant UGC is actually a funding agency. It assesses the value of the project but it does not go very deeply into what you are actually doing, though there are experts there. And it takes its value for money. So the project grant is divided into two categories. It is called non-recurring and recurring. First, let us look at the non-recurring. For humanities, especially, you can have this thing. And the non-recurring, you can have books, journals, and equipment. That's non-recurring in the non-recurring category. And I'm happy to say, in the very first installment, as soon as you're granted the project, you will get the full amount of the non-recurring portion granted to you. So suppose you're granted 7 lakhs and the non-recurring is 3 lakhs. 3 lakhs will be immediately given to you. It won't be given actually directly to the principal investigator. The person who's a chief person who's applying is called the principal investigator. You can have co-investigators either in your the same institution or from other institutions also. It can be a collaborative project. Can be even collaborative projects with other like a research institutes and so on. Then recurring is, of course, recurring of this non-recurring is one time, and the recurring is it comes again and again. Only 50% of the recurring amount will be given. It is goes for main amount. Thing is for the salary of the project fellow. Then honorarium for retired teachers if it's applicable. Hiring services. Usually, if you have a project fellow, they will not give money for hiring services. Hiring services is if you don't have a project fellow, you want to hire somebody or other for some reason, like it's an expert or a photographer or so on. You can have hiring services. Some people may not want a project fellow; they may have opt for hiring services only. Then you can have contingency. It covers stationery, audit, advertising fees, photocopying, telephone, internet, fax, and so on. Then this is takes up a lot. So I would advise you to apply the maximum in this category. Then many special needs and the chemicals, consumables. We don't have chemicals. Maybe we can have consumables such as paper. Then travel and field work. For me, my project consists of not only analyzing books, it also consists of interviews with all these people. So I had applied for travel and field work also. I understood that when we apply for travel, I thought that the stay and food will be covered, but only the travel expenses were covered, not the stay and the food. I don't know about now. I think now they are allowing that also. And it's not for attending any seminar or conference. In the olden days, they also did not give anything for publication, but now they expect two books to be published based on the findings of the project, and they give funds for those also. And institution overheads, that is about some percentage of the grant will be given to your institution because they spend for they give you buildings and the other than maybe cupboards and other things. So some one percentage will be for the institution. I have another slides also. I can show you my project application and the steps I go through. Ma'am, how much time is left?
You can show the application. It will be very helpful to all those who are aspiring for the UGC research projects. Yeah, we
Thank you.
can.
This is the application form. It consists of the Annexure 1 and Annexure 2. And that is, first one is Part A. And this is very simple. This is my form. It's available online. This format is available online. I also have slides, but I thought it was not necessary here. Here we have section 2F and 12B. And I had to send copies of those, which will be available in the institution's office. So they will see whether you have published anything which is related to the area of your research. Also, whether your PhD or other degrees are related to this area of your proposed research. This is part B, which is the proposed research work. We also have a summary which we should send along with this. This is my project title, Ecology and Natural Environment as Represented in English Fiction for Children and Young Adults in India between 1990 and 2010. I took up books which were published in India and written in English, not written in India necessarily, because I also interviewed another person called, an author called Ken Spellman, who's an Australian, but strangely he writes about India and Indian children. I asked him online and interviewed him online. He said that he visits India frequently and is very much interested in Indian culture. So I included him also in the project. Then I have the origin of the research problem. So what is a research problem? Actually, this is a little like a thesis proposal, but there's a difference between a project and a thesis. Thesis go very in-depth and probably involves a lot of theory and stuff, but project is more like an investigation, findings, and more like data collection of data, like it is, and compiling and telling people, so finding new things and telling people what it is in a simpler way than in a thesis. So some projects are a little like thesis. They concentrate more on the actual writings of a particular author. But nowadays, they expect interdisciplinary approach and a social relevance. So this is they found it to be socially relevant because it is about teaching children about regarding lessons regarding environment, how these resources are available in India, who are the people working towards this end. Limitations also limited to those books published in India between this time and that time. So interdisciplinary relevance because an environmental studies and English literature. Review of research previously done at the international level, also at the national level. Significance of the study and potential contribution to knowledge and as well as to society. Academic knowledge as well as to society. All these slides, all these files I will leave with the department. I have already sent a mail. So anytime that you want to access, if Madam permits, you can have it. These are the objectives. And methodology, but this is a collection of the primary sources, interviews, then study of the books, then a study of journals, and so on, visits to libraries, research on the internet. Year-wise plan. I just had 2 years because it was originally for 2 years, but though it was extended for 3, and later on, I also had a different plan for 3-year plan also. Collaboration is encouraged. That is also, if you are collaborating with the institute, which is in your area of research, it will be valued. Financial, this is just what I wrote. I was not very, conversant with it, but there are some parameters mentioned in the application. And they did not allow me hiring services, and then for some other things also, they did not have more. They said, why do you need cupboards for books? So these two they did not give me. So the amount allotted, this is the amount I asked. The amount allotted was somewhat less, 5 lakhs 10,000 or something, but later they made it nearly 7 lakhs after the midterm review. There will be a midterm review in which you have to show how much progress you made. You were pleased with the progress, and they gave more funds. Of course, within the this limit. This is just a certificate. I did not have any co-investigators, but just one more slide I have, ma'am. I just go very quickly through it. Once.
As ma'am is sharing the slide, could I request everyone to please switch on your video so that we can take a good picture of the deliberations today? Thank you very much, everyone. Thank you.
I think I would leave this for later. So what are the steps that you go through? Ma'am, should I present the last PPT or leave it here? Ma'am?
Thank you. There's, I lost some connection, so I switch over to device. Thank you, Professor Shobha Ramaswamy, for making a wonderful presentation on your research project journey, sharing your findings, and also the journey. And I'm really interested in the second PPT that you were showing us. Maybe sometime, we can find some time to do that, or we can share with those who are interested. They can write to us. So MAM's project has addressed various lacuna that were there in the eco-critical studies. As we were all, very attentively listening to her, she was talking about the Nilgiri biosphere and the green civilization that, the Indus time. And all the writers that, whether they were Indian or the diasporic writers, who have really contributed to the greening of the mines, because again, it is said that eco-consciousness, it is inculcated in the very beginning in the childhood. And if eco-pedagogy, practices are taken up, I think we can move towards sustainable practices in a well-prepared manner. I think that is the need of the hour. This kind of input necessary for providing a mechanism why we are using literature. And ma'am, very nicely presented the array of literature, whether it's the short stories or the picture books. She has given us all those illustrations that are able to, if we have that the curriculum as well, it's going to help the students. Definitely the kind of symbiotic relationship that man should have. I once again thank Ramaswamy for her wonderful presentation and presenting us, encouraging us for the major research project that is not a Herculean task. If you will well be for a ma'am has shown those additional which we need to just fill out and wait for our chance to come. Right? Thank you so much. I would now like to invite Professor Sushila Gopal from the Open University of Mauritius. First of all, a warm welcome, ma'am. Thank you so much for connecting this morning and great interest in the seminar held by Jagat Guru Nanak Dev Punjab State Open University, Patiala. Professor Sushila Gopal is a Mauritian of North Indian origin. She received her education in Mauritius, England, and India. Her PhD focused on contemporary poetry written by women. She has writings on English poetry, on modern literary theories, and criticism to her credit. Her recent academic writings are on diaspora and eco-criticism. She was in charge of English department at the Mauritius Institute of Education and now is working with the Open University of Mauritius. Her areas of interest include ecology, creative writing, literature, and she has presented various papers, including St. Jose's in California, in Brazil, in Nepal, Turkey, in Hyderabad, Odisha, Kerala, Mumbai, Gurdwan. She's regularly visiting India. She keeps the connect. And she's a life member of FSLE, Indian chapter of ASLE, and the Osmania University Center for International Programs in Hyderabad. I would now request ma'am to make a few observations with regard to the presentation and the discourse on eco-consciousness for children in contemporary literature. Over to you, Professor Sushila Gopal.
Good morning to everyone. I hope you can hear me.
Yes, ma'am.
Can you hear me? Yeah. Okay. It has been wonderful. Thank you very much, Professor Navleen Multani, for having me. My greetings, my respects to the Vice Chancellor of the University. Thank you very much, Professor Shobha Ramaswamy. It has been a wonderful overview of the text. Very often we do have academics writing on the eco problems, but I realize that we have to educate the children so that the future is made safe. Sharing among academics is fine, but it is not sufficient. So thank you very much for giving us the names of so many writers covering contemporary issues This is very important because this is what is going to make the children become interested in it. Secondly, for covering the various areas, especially the man-animal conflict, and you ended up with the coexistence. Thank you very much for that, Professor Shobha Ramaswamy. It has been wonderful, and I'm going to share the titles and the writers that you have mentioned with my colleagues. The other thing is, I thought of Amitabh Ghosh, who has been writing on ecology from shadow lines and then in his gun. I was thinking if it is possible for writers to rewrite as it was done on, say, writers like Dickens and the other major writers of the English literature. Their books have been put down in different forms for children. But you have come with a wonderful idea of the picture books. Thank you very much for that. Congratulations to you on your highly praiseworthy journey. Thank you.
Thank you, Professor Sushila Gopal, for your observations. And I now request the attendees, the participants, I thank them and also request them to put their questions in the chat box, and would like Mohanjeet and Gaganjeet Kaur to coordinate the question answer sessions. You may please raise your hand, and or else you can just type your questions in the chat box, which will be taken up by Gaganpreet and Mohanjeet. Over to you, Mohanjeet.
Yes, ma'am.
Good noon, Dr. Shobha Ramaswamy ma'am, Dr. Navleen ma'am.
Good afternoon, Dr. Edwin Moses. Thank you for connecting. Thanks to all the universities for encouraging their faculty and research scholars, to connect this morning. Thank you very much.
Thank you for that comprehensive presentation on eco-consciousness in children's literature, tracing from Rabindranath Tagore to many of the regional writers. Even in children's literature, we tend to focus some of the mainstream writers, but ma'am has also covered some of the regional writers like Deepak Lal, the tribal literatures. And my question is, how far these regional writers are part of our syllabus in the school system? Maybe if ma'am has any observations or anybody else has any observations on that, maybe we can throw light on that. What is your observation, ma'am? Shobhan.
So far, only one or few, as far as I know, only one or two have been included in syllabus of various books. This is because these books are not available on the bookshelves of the mainstream stores. And this was more because when I took up a different, actually, an young adult fiction, I wrote on paper on that, and I was able to meet the author. And the author asked me how come he got to know about my book. It is not available in bookstores. I said I found it on Amazon. So this is the issue with that. Of course, Tulika, everything is available on online. Tulika has a thing. They have brochures and all. But this is the reason why, though these books are of high standard, they are not prescribed in universities. I think if new researchers take it to the academic area, it will be very nice.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
Thank you. I think the IGNOU coordinator, Edwin Moses, we at the open universities can take this as a call and try introducing environmental studies written by our own Indian writers.
Yes, ma'am. Yeah.
We can say this. Thank you. That gives us an idea that we should introduce a new course where we can bring in all the writers,
The
ma'am.
regional writers.
And this actually is the purpose, of disseminating the research that she has accomplished, because it should not remain confined to the books published or whatever the project report was to be submitted. This has to spread, because ma'am was gracious enough. She said, okay, you can call a number of participants. I am ready to share my findings with them. Thank you.
Thank you.
Fredwin.
Thank
Any questions, please?
Yes, Amandeep has raised her hand. I think she's also working
Yes,
in literature. Yes,
yes,
Amandeep,
ma'am.
go ahead with your question, please.
Yes, good afternoon, everyone, and good afternoon, Shobha, ma'am. So, ma'am, I have been doing research in children's literature and from the eco-critical perspective.
Oh, that's very interesting.
Thank you so much, ma'am. So when I started my research in 2019, I, went on the internet and found that there is no substantial research that has been done in this field, specifically on the novels that are written for children of India. So my question that, this was the first thing that I came across. The question was that what is children literature? I mean, to which age do we think that children belong? Because uh, the novels that I chose, they are written by Ranjit Lal, Siddharth Sarma, and Leela Gaur Broom. So all of them have their protagonists aged between 13 to 15 years. But I found that Siddharth Sarma has got his Sahitya Academy Award for children's literature. So I'm a bit confused in that terminology, children or children's literature. So can you put light on that?
Uh, yes, because according to the American Library, Congress Library, it is the age limit has been fixed at 14 or 15 or then after that they consider it as young adult literature. But that is, I think that classification is according to American say culture. In our society, we consider children, I think up to the age of 18, we can say they are children.
All right. So
That is my opinion only. That is
yeah, because I have not found any good definition on that. What are children or what is
up to
children's
16,
literature?
you can easily consider them as children, up to 10th standard.
All right.
They cannot be called young adults, 10th standard children.
Okay. And secondly, I would really want to have access to your publications, especially the journals.
Oh,
I would want to, refer to them and put in my thesis.
Citation is necessary. Yes, we will share the links. Ma'am said that she will share the sources. She has already shared the PDF of her research project. I can share it with you, right?
Oh, right. Because I could only find the one article on the internet that is Eco Consciousness in Children's Literature, that essay that you wrote quite a long time back.
critical essays in languageinindia.com. There is a journal called languageinindia.com. In that, I have published 3 ebooks.
All right.
One is
Okay.
a series of critical essays, something like that, in children's literature. Another one is this PDF, this eco consciousness. It is called Greening the Young Mind.
Yes, Greening the Young Minds. I do remember. So yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
the
All
other one
right,
is
ma'am.
critical essays on the same, and the other one is my thesis, which is also, you can say, young adult and children's literature, because it is called Archetypes and Fantasy Fiction. It it is based on Harry Potter and the Lord of the Rings.
Okay.
It's not
All right.
Indian, but it mentions several of the archetypal patterns and all, which connected to Indian myths and so on. But they're all freely open access. They're all available in languageinindia.com. Perhaps I have a few other essays also. If you're interested, I can send them anytime if I can find them. I
Oh,
stopped
yeah.
writing quite a long time back because I started guiding, concentrated much on that.
Okay, ma'am. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Two of my students have done scholars have done very good work on children's literature. One is Dr. Shobana of Amrita University,
Okay.
and the other one is Dr. Jayashree of Amanashingam University. I can give the contact information also. They are actually more advanced than me because
Oh,
they have taken on more candidates.
please do, ma'am. Please do. It will be very helpful for me. Thank you so much.
A pleasure.
Thank you, ma'am. Very, very thank you. Now I would like to invite Mrs. Gaganpreet Kaur to extend the formal vote of thanks. Mrs. Gaganpreet Kaur.
Hello, good afternoon, everyone. As we draw the curtains on today's intellectually stimulating and environmentally conscious international webinar on eco-consciousness in contemporary Indian children's literature, it is a privilege to deliver a vote of thanks on behalf of the Research and Development Cell and the School of Languages, Jagat Guru Nanak Dev State Open University, Patiala. First and foremost, I would like to extend my deepest gratitude to our Honorable Vice Chancellor, Srimati Anandita Mitra, IAS, whose inspiration and words of vision encouraged us in envision and execute this webinar to its success. Your unwavering commitment to higher education and the nurturing of research excellence inspires us all. A special note of thanks to our distinguished speaker, Professor Shobha Ramaswamy, for her enlightening and thoroughly engaging discourse. Your insights into eco-consciousness in Indian children's literature open a new dimension for academic and environmental reflections. Your ideas not only highlighted the literary value, but also emphasize the moral and ecological responsibility that children's literature must promote in today's context. And it was a great pleasure for you to help out people who are already in this field. And this is a fresh field of research. And as a pioneer and a guide, you are also helping out students and researchers who are aspiring to be in this field. I would also like to extend my heartfelt appreciation to Dr. Sushila Gopal from the Open University of Mauritius for her astute observations. Your global perspective truly added richness to this dialogue. And a warm thanks to Dr. Navleen Multani, Dean of Research, for organizing the session so gracefully and for being the guiding spirit behind this event. Your vision and dedication were evident in every detail of this program. And to our participants, scholars, researchers, faculty members, and students, your presence and engagement gave the real meaning to this effort. The vibrant questions, thoughtfulness, and reflections during the Q&A sessions were a testament of your keen interest and scholarly spirit. Lastly, I would like to thank Jagat Guru Nanak Dev, Punjab State Open University Administration, various branches of the university, Mr. Mohanjeet Singh and Mr. Maninder Jodh for supporting the program. Let us carry forward the insights and discussions from today into our classrooms, research and community engagement. May we continue to cultivate eco-consciousness, not just in literature, but in life itself, because our environment is our home. Thank you once again, and wishing you all continued success in your academic and personal endeavors.
Thank you,
Thank you
ma'am.
so much.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. We can all have our videos on for another picture of the day. Thank you very much. Thank you so much. It was great having you here, Professor Shobha Ramaswamy and Professor
That's a
Sushila.
great
And
pleasure
all-
for me. I was actually very nervous, but you made everything very smooth.
No, it's okay. Thank you so much.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you.